This is Bharat FM.
बजेगा भारत, झूमेगा भारत. बजेगा भारत, झूमेगा.
This is Bharat FM.
You're already being treated at this one. But this one is not being treated at you.
Hello, good evening, Mumbai, India. Good morning.
Mama, let's play the. Okay, Mama. Let's do it again.
Usha, you are muted for some reason. You got muted for some reason. Can you unmute yourself, please? Yeah, go ahead now.
Yes, good evening, Mumbai, India, and good morning, Cincinnati, United States. Let me request all the viewers to mute their audio. There is a background noise. Please mute yourself. It's a special request. Please mute yourself. So good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Storytellers Cafe. And I am your host, Usha Venkatraman. As you know, Storytellers Cafe is a 30-minute segment on Bharat FM every Sunday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time and 9 p.m. Indian Standard Time. And today we have a very special guest in our Zoom studios, Geeta Ramanujam. Now, Gita Ramanujam is a very well-known figure in the storytelling world in India. She's the doyen of storytelling. Geeta wears many hats and is the founder, executive director of Kathalaya Trust, a house of stories. She established Kathalaya in 1998, which reaches out to schools, corporates, NGOs with storytelling strategies and training. Geeta also founded the International Academy of Storytelling, the only globally recognized academy for storytelling which has certified courses and centers which has certified courses in storytelling affiliated to institutions around the world. Geeta has completed 132 batches at the center. Besides traveling, building curriculum, setting up story spaces, and organizing festivals, Geeta comes up with innovative ways to spread storytelling across India and the world.
So what is that you're looking for?
She is on the board of many educational and storytelling institutions across the globe and has trained over 85,000. Yes, 85,000 people in the field. She has won many accolades in the field of storytelling, including the BoCaDeu Award for the Best Storyteller in Brazil and the Best Story Narrator Award from the Governor of Maharashtra. Like I said, Geeta has many awards to her credit. Notable among them, Geeta is an Ashoka Fellow. She has also won the Karnataka Women and Child Award. She has won many awards at literature festivals and the Best Story Narrator Award, like I said, from the Governor of Tamil Nadu in June 2019. So Storytellers Cafe and Bharat FM proudly present Geeta Ramanujam, our guest for today's evening. Welcome, Geeta, to Storytellers Cafe. A pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Usha, and thank you, Bharat FM, for this wonderful opportunity and platform. It's very rare that storytellers get such a beautiful platform to showcase what they are doing, because it's not been a very happy or very, I wouldn't say happy, it hasn't been a very easy journey to be a storyteller. Yes? So,
Absolutely.
Right. So thank you, Usha, again. So I think, would you like me to begin on how I was a storyteller or how I became one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So I just wanted to tell the viewers that Today we'll be having conversations and expressions with Geeta Ramanujam. And of course, she will end it with a story. So Geeta, my first question is, the listeners of Storytellers Cafe would like to know your or Kathalaya, they are synonymous with you, journey till
Right.
today. Could you walk the listeners through your journey in storytelling?
Sure. Many people have heard about it, but I would anyway try to do as much justice as possible. Kathalaya itself it means I always loved the Himalayas. So one of the reasons that the name itself happened was because Alaya means a temple or a house, and Hima means snow. So Himalayas, I said, what can be a beautiful house of stories? And yes, there was that spark, and Kathalaya happened, but not so easily. So before that, just wanted to run through a little bit about who can be a storyteller, or how does one become a storyteller, and what is this profession that people are talking about today. So sometimes the seeds are in childhood, isn't it? A lot of seeds are sown in childhood. So one of the seeds that was sown for me were by my parents. When I was growing up, yes, I was born and brought up in Bombay. And I actually, at that time, there was not much of technological gadgets or anything. I think, thank God for that. Because, I was taken to a lot of discourses because my mother came from Tanjavur. And my father was very particular that he told me stories about historical legends like Napoleon. And so I got the best of both worlds from my parents. My mother used to tell all the stories in Tamil because, the second language was Hindi and third language was Marathi in Bombay. So I grew up on these stories from my mother in Tamil and in English from my father. So at night it was my father's time, and during the day it was my mother. And my mother would always come up with like a proverb, and she would always say something which will arouse the curiosity and wonder in me. So she'll say, "Don't be like that housefly." In Tamil it means "e." So don't be like that "e" that forgot its name. So she would say that, and she would leave me with that curiosity. So when I came and asked her every evening, she would then unravel that story. Kora kora kandre kandrin taye tayin vodaya vodayin kayil kole kole chuttum kodiye kodi valarum kulame kulathil nirkum kokke kokku pidikkum meene meen pidikkum valaya valayin kayil chatti chatti pidikkum koyavan koyavan tharum manne மண்மேல் வளரும் புல்லே புல்லை திங்கும் குதிரையே என் பேர் என்ன. Well, it's a long translation, but quickly to tell you, this little housefly forgets his name, and it's a chain story. It goes to each person asking, "What is my name? What is my name? What is my name? What is my name?" And it's a beautiful link. You not only learn about village life, you not only learn about the birds and animals in the environment, but what stuck was I was young, a very, very impressionable age. I looked up to my mother, and every story that she said, I even remember the sari that she wore. This was when I was hardly about 8 or 9 years old. So, the stories got into my head, and I haven't forgotten them. Forgotten a lot of things that happened later in life, but not the stories that I heard in childhood. That's why I request parents always to please tell stories when the children are young. And so that's how I began. Now, I was also very good with imitation. So when I used to go for discourses, children, they don't understand anything. What are religious discourses? So there used to be Chimyananda who used to say, ego and egocentric desires. And I used to say, oh, wow. And come back and imitate him. I didn't know what was ego and what was egocentric desire. But then, because I imitated him, it got into my system again. So I used to imitate the film people. There was a movie called Dr. Dolittle, and there were cartoons. So I used to come back and imitate them after seeing the film. So songs, stories, everything I started emoting. So, what's up, dog? Or, I saw another putty cat. That was one thing that I always imitated. This was Tweety Bird, right? So, cartoons or whatever I saw would come and emote them, or film actors. Like there is one comedian in Tamil, and you ask him, tell me one number between 1 and 8, and he'll say, "Ombode," which means 9. Okay, so and then I used to come also and a little bit of Devanand and Dharmender, suicide cancel, you know. So all this, I became the entertainer for my family. But it was just fun. It was a lot of fun. And my school, I enjoyed a lot. And then, of course, my father got a transfer, and then we came to Chennai. And then I did my college. Yes, I fell in love. And I listened to a lot of stories from some of the boys, all those little teenage stories, that one, envy, jealousy, a lot of those stories. But then I was not aware that these were all stories. And then I got married. I went abroad for a while. And then I returned and I thought I must have a job because I was married. And then I got into a school because it was the closest to me. By the time I delivered my baby, she was a little child. And what better way to teach a child anything, or to make concepts interesting, or to just get the child's attention? And that's when I began to tell the first story. And the first story I said was a lollipop story. And the next day there was a chewing gum story. And then there was a story of popcorn. And I just made this all. And at that time, I realized that children were paying a lot of attention when I emoted them and said, and when the child corrected me, even the little one corrected me. And when I said, you know what, Rahul loved lollipops. And he would say, yellow color lollipop. I said, yeah, right, yellow color lollipop. So you see, children want details. And I used to do this. And sometimes when I used to make up these stories, children were very intelligent. And then I thought I was not a graduate. So I wanted to become, I complete my graduation. And I remember my salary was just 300 rupees and 285 was the fee I had to pay. So I was left with 15 rupees. Now, this was the way that I slowly began to hone my skills, because I had to remain as a teacher in that school. And then I went to the Aurobindo Memorial School and the Krishnamurti Foundation. And there I was the history and social science teacher for nearly 12 years. And at that time, I had to really, really have the attention of the children. So I would say, Akbar, he got up and he decided to choose a blue color cloth as a turban that day. And he decided to have, instead of meat that day for breakfast, he decided to have a little bit of potato poha. So how do you make the characters in history interesting for children? So this is how I related, saying they are also human beings like us. And now this was a new way of teaching too, because everyone used to just teach. Many people were not too happy, and the director decided to make me the librarian, because in those days, librarian's job was not a very, sought after, I would say. So here in the library, I was sitting there after handling 8 periods almost a day. And that's the time when we were drunk in books. And when the children came, they said they finished reading. And I said, okay, tell me the story. And the children would do. And that's when I knew they hadn't read the book. And that's when I said, how do I inculcate reading habits in children? And I began to tell them stories. And when I started telling them stories, and I started using a little voice also, the bell would go dang, and they'd say, continue. And I would say, if you read from this chapter, you'll get the rest of the story. Or if you read from page 44, you'll get the rest of the story. And all the children used to rush for that book. And that was the time when one of the people said, who was eavesdropping, said, why don't you have a storytelling workshop? Now, by the time all this happened, it was 1996. And here, I was very happy, sitting in the library, quiet place, sometimes interviewing even the Dalai Lama. and people who came to the study center. And I used to write for the newspapers. And I was very happy with my job. I was not ambitious. I didn't want to become anything. But you know, destiny has its own ways. So there was probably that Arundhati star which was shining bright above my head that. So what happened was, I had this first workshop in the city. It was 1 week workshop and they called it storytelling. You know, we had only 2 registrations. And then that person said, can we call it a creative writing workshop? And I said, no, let's call it storytelling. But by the time we actually I went into the workshop, I had 10 children. Now I told them stories from the epics, from the legends. I was excited. I did activities. First time, first storytelling workshop. And parents were outside. They were very interested. And the last day was fables. And for the last day, I told them the story about once upon a time, there was a lion. And then there was the mouse. And what happened? The lion said, I'm going to eat you. And the mouse said, oh, please, I'll help you one day, right? And one day, the lion, help, help. And that was when the mouse came and rescued the lion. Now, when I finished the story and all the children went home, the next day, one of the parents was a big person in the Times of India, and I didn't know that. So there was a column in the Times of India saying, EAO, sounds coming from a room. And who is this? It's a storyteller in action. If you want to contact her, this is her number. And from that day, my phone has not stopped ringing, whether it's a cell phone or my landline. So that's how I decided to launch storytelling. And I said, for whatever it's worth, I think I should take the risk. So I gave my resignation, and along with 2 of my colleagues, decided to start storytelling. And after a year, we called it Kathalaya. And that's how the storytelling journey actually began. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful, Geeta. That was what a epic journey in itself, and what a story. You know, it was beautiful. I was completely taken in, and in your story, I traveled your travails and things of changing from a bride to a mother to a housewife to a working woman, and your transformation. Indeed, wonderful, very inspiring for people out there, you know, even for me. And for all you listeners, I trained with Geeta in 2010 at Kathalaya, and also had the opportunity to travel with her to Sweden. And that was a revelation for me. So thank you, Geeta. Geeta, I was thinking that could you share with our listeners any interesting storytelling incidents since you've traveled the world? I mean, really every nook and cranny. So could you tell us something, a short thing that, you know, something that's interesting?
Sure. Sometimes there are total contrasts in life. You're a housewife, you're a mother, you're quiet in a library, and suddenly that seed has become a little plant, and there is storytelling peeping out, isn't it? It's just coming out, and it needs water, and it needs a little sunshine. And now that seed is feeling very desirous to grow in a very fruitful way without disturbing anything. How to bring peace, how to bring transformation. What can storytelling actually do to society? So when I was embarking on this journey, I'm very grateful again. You know, things fall, they fall, it's like the jigsaw puzzle. You know, when Krishnamurti used to say, when you throw yourselves into the laps of your nature, it has an astonishing way of taking care of you. So that is what happened to me. So when you have that desire, things started happening. I was very lucky, very fortunate about it. I put in a little effort, And the affair, the gift came from above, whoever it is upstairs. So here it was that I was wondering, how do I take the storytelling forward? Because at that time, there were no storytellers. Let me be very honest with you. There were no storytellers in 1996 in India at all. And there were hardly anyone to look up to because this was a new field. And everyone wanted to, they always came and asked me, what are you? You're a storyteller? What is that? Okay, so this was the time. And I was very fortunate because I wanted to do reach out, and that's when I got a little funding. That's what I said. I'm very thankful. And the Ashoka Foundation, which was in US, gave me this beautiful gift, which is the fellowship, and it was 10,000 rupees a month. The last salary that I earned was only 3,000. After 20 years of service in schools, so for me 10,000 was a big amount. So that 10,000 was given to me only to see how I can make the storytelling replicable. So I looked at ways and means. I did storytelling, stories on wheels, took people out on trips, took corporate, even in those days, for trips, for cultural tours. I told them stories on the way. I told children stories in sanctuaries and parks, in dams. So all this, when we started spreading storytelling, was the time when I thought I had the energy, and I said, how do I grow storytellers? Should I keep it to myself, or should we have more storytellers? Yeah, storytelling is probably young, but our storytelling tradition is more than 8,000, 10,000 years old. We have an old tradition of storytelling. And I said, how do I revive this? How do I bring a modern application to this? And this was the time when I was thinking of, I must start an academy for storytelling. Now, academy for storytelling, yeah, like a university. So I put in all my thoughts, and I had a lot of beautiful friends like Manik Patwardhan, Almelu, everyone who added a lot of spice, masala to make that sambar really good. So we made that curriculum and we said, how do we launch it? Just when I was thinking about this, I had already started traveling. Now, because I got the Ashoka Fellowship, I was invited to South Africa. But before that, I got a Ford Foundation fund, which said you can travel to any country you want to have a storytelling exchange. And I said, what is a good country to travel to, which is expensive, but I won't be able to travel even if I had the money. So I said, Japan. So here, the first travel was to Japan. So this was a great thing. There's a big story for that, but I'm not going to tell all of that today. It's another, every journey of mine has a story. The second trip I went is to South Africa. It was beautiful, excellent. And this was again in 2003. Now, in 2003, it so happened that one of my friends, Almelu, she said, you know, my cousin is getting married and I want you to accompany me on this trip. Please come, because I'm going all alone. And this is my first trip to the US and I want you to come with me. And I said, but I don't have the money. I didn't want to ask my husband. That was out of self-respect and a lot of things that I wanted to prove to him, that a woman is also capable of getting money, of earning money, and for earning respect. And it was one of my prestige issues at that time. So I decided not to ask anyone any money. So I worked at an NGO for 60 days. And every day they gave me 2,000 rupees. So she said, all you have to do is to pay the airfare. All the rest I'll take care of. You know, Indians have so many relations, especially in the US. Yeah. So she said, I'll take care of you. We are going first to Washington. So there we were. We're all set. And you know what? She loves chocolates. You won't believe it. Just before that, remember I told you there's another story? Well, that story I will tell you when you come sometime to Kathalaya or at another thing, where we went, we were invited to Switzerland. Now, because we were invited to Switzerland, we took the Swiss Air, and she loves chocolates. So we first visited Switzerland, and that host was so sweet, took care of us. And then we land in Washington, and both of us were voracious eaters. So what did we do? We went to the Washington. First thing we went was to the Library of Congress. So both of us went to the Library of Congress, and Indians, they always speak, especially when two friends get together, you know what happens, right? So then we were talking, and we didn't even realize that it was a silent library. You know, we were actually breaking the rules, but we were carrying this load of books, and both were talking to each other, and we banged into a woman. And she was quite an old woman, and we apologized. She picked up all our books and she said, "Looks like you're from India." And we said, "Yes, we are from India." And she said, "Oh, so what do you do?" "We're storytellers." "What? I'm sure you've come for the Jonesboro Festival," she said. "Oh, because it's too expensive and we can't afford. We come for a wedding." She said, come into my library." And we went into her library because she was the president of the American Folklife. So she sat there and she said, "I'm going to write to Jimmy Neal Smith, who is the president of the International Storytelling Center, right now. And I'm going to ask him if there is a seat for both of you to come and visit that festival." I said, "Oh, that's awfully nice." She offered us a cup of tea. We went to New York after that. Our trip was New York and Atlanta and back. So it was all set, New York, the wedding got over, came home, there was a telephone call. And, "Hello, I'm Jimmy Neal Smith speaking. Am I speaking to Gita Ramanuja?" "Perfect." I said, "Yes, this is Gita Ramanujam. Are you the storyteller from India?" "Yes." "I'm so glad you can talk English." "What?" I just wanted to tell him we just had 200 years of British rule. Okay. So anyway, I said, "Yes, we can speak English very well." She said, "You know, you will be the first storyteller to visit me at Jonesboro, Tennessee. I'm inviting you for the festival." I said, "Thank you, sir, but I don't have the money. And I have my friend with me, Alamelu too." And he said, "Not a problem at all. If you have a dog, cat, elephant, you can bring them along too. So both of you are invited. I'm sending you the tickets and you will be my guest of honor." So bingo. I mean, who would have expected this, especially in US, which is so organized, isn't it? So the next thing, both of us were at Jonesboro, Tennessee, and we were in the heart of the festival. We were given the only two houses that is there for the guest. What an honor. Went through the festival with an extremely busy man. But I also realized that whether to broach the subject or not, and when I told him that we want to start an academy for storytelling, and I want an affiliation from you, because only then it would have a kind of recognition. And you know what he said? "It's done." He just said, "It's done. You go back home, you also have the first international storytelling festival if you haven't had in India, and I will fund you for that." And that was the bonus. I couldn't believe this. And we returned, everything taken care of. We got the letter of affiliation from him. Now, you know what? I don't think beyond something. I just trust a person and I think people can just give. He didn't have any motivation. 2016, I finished 100 batches of my academy. And I wanted to thank Jimmy Neal Smith for all that he had done for me. And so I returned to the US. I mean, not returned, I went visiting the US in 2016. And when I went to Tennessee, I saw there was Jimmy Neal Smith Park. There was Jimmy Neal Smith Hall. And I was wondering, how come everything is named after him? And when I went to see him, he said, "Oh, how do you think you got the affiliation?" And I asked him, "Yeah, I never thought of it." And then he said, "You know, I was thrice the mayor of Tennessee. And that's how you got the affiliation." Wasn't I lucky? I was so grateful to him. Yes. And this is one trip that I can never forget.
Wonderful, Geeta. You've really taken me on a storytelling trip. And I have been to Jonesboro, Tennessee,
Right.
2014 for the International Storytelling Festival. It's something, an experience. I think every storyteller should just go and,
Yes.
if possible, attend the 3-day festival. That was indeed wonderful. Unfortunately, we are running out of time, Geeta, since it's a 30-minute slot on Bharat FM. And but there is so much more to your stories, and we need to get you back to listen to more of your storytelling incidents, your experiences, and of course to get to hear you to tell a story, which you did tell about the Kurkur Kandre Kandrin Tai.
Yes.
So I just want to tell all our viewers out there that we have received some of you writing in to say that you would tell stories. Of course, you will come on to the show. In the beginning, I'm just reaching out to all the bespoke experts in the field of storytelling, not only from India, but also from around the world, and to get them onto this Storytellers Cafe so that the global Indian diaspora gets to listen to them. Like we got to listen to Geeta Ramanujam, and I'm definitely will have Geeta once more on Storytellers Cafe, Geeta, so that you can definitely tell us a story,
So maybe I could end with a very short, very, very short tale for the sake of the people.
Okay. Sure. Sure.
So once upon a time, there was a boy. And wherever the boy went, his dog went along. And one day, the boy went to a beautiful lake. And in that lake, there was a boat. The boy got into the boat. And behind, he rowed the boat and went to the other side of the island. He got down from the boat. And the dog followed. He went around and the sun began to set. He returned to the boat. The dog was not there. He got into the boat and came to the other side. He got down from the boat. He was very hungry and he was very tired. So he went under a tree. And there, the dog was there. And he was so happy that since he was hungry and tired, went to sleep. Yeah.
Oh, lovely. That was wonderful. That was a wonderful finger story. So,
Yes.
And now this is what Geeta is in her inimitable style, has told us a wonderful finger story. Thank you, Geeta. And thank you for listening to Storytellers Cafe. Thank you for coming and gracing us, and I'm sure everybody was really interested. Please do write in your feedback, your comments on the Bharat FM page. And Bharat FM and I, Usha from Storytellers Cafe, want to wish you all a very happy 73rd Independence Day celebrations, which is just next Saturday. And we have a wonderful storyteller guest from Dubai on Sunday, a student of Geeta Ramanujam. Geeta, Shireen Saif. Yes. So I look forward to seeing you all next Sunday. Happy Independence Day and have a great week. Thank you so much, Geeta.
Thank you, Usha. Thank you, Bharat FM. Thank you to all the listeners who might have listened to it many times. But thank you all and happy Independence Day to everyone. Thank you.
This is Bharat FM.
बजेगा भारत, झूमेगा भारत. बजेगा भारत, झूमेगा भारत.
This is Bharat FM.